Aloha, my name is Dr. Fisher, and today I'm going to be talking to you about reading strategies. All right, so let's think about reading for a moment and all the different times that you do read, and you've been reading since kindergarten. So most of the things that I talk to you about today, you'll be like, yes, I definitely do that. So one of our goals is to slow down when we're reading so that we can interact with the text, we can improve our comprehension and our accuracy when we're answering questions. Do you ever feel like you have to rush through reading? What if I told you that the best readers read like a sloth, but think like a detective? And this is true. But sloths actually are very intentional in what they're doing. So when we're reading like a sloth, we're reading carefully and intentionally to understand as we're reading. I think what happens is because we want fluency in our students when it comes to reading, in kindergarten through second grade, when you're being taught how to read, students are also being asked to read faster and quicker because they're trying to fix your fluency. And then what happens is we get caught in the cycle that the only good way to read is to read fast, when in fact, the best way to read is at the speed we personally need in order to understand what we're reading. And I am probably the slowest reader in the room almost every time that we read, and that's because I need that processing time, and I engage with the text and I really need to understand it as I'm reading. So research shows that good readers slow down to understand, they look for clues and prove their answers, and they're just like great detectives. So my students, when I would ask them, how are you successful on the test or on any kind of questions that I'm giving you to answer? And they always responded with, well, we just follow the same advice that you talk about, which is we read one time through to understand. We read the questions carefully and to understand them. We go back in the text to find the answer, and we never guess. Well, that's a perfect recipe for great reading strategies. So we know that sloths take their time, and you should too. Good readers ask questions as they read. So you'll be asking yourself, so what's this part about? What are they telling me right now? Oh, we're guessing about what we think is going to happen next. And why did the author include this one detail? So let's practice asking questions and reading that with that strategy in mind. Aloha ran outside after the heavy rain finally stopped. Okay, so now I'm making sense, right? Okay, so it's raining outside. The air smelled fresh and the tiny puddles shimmered in the sunlight. Okay, so it rained enough that there's little puddles. As he stepped onto the damp grass, he noticed something strange. A trail of tiny paw prints leading toward the big mango tree. Okay, so he's looking at these little paw prints, tiny he called them, leading toward the big mango tree. Okay, I know what a mango tree looks like, all right. Aloha knelt down and touched the prints. So he's touching the tiny paw prints. They were too small for a dog. Okay, so they're little, but too big for a mouse. Okay, so they're kind of a little bit within there, okay, but just right for a mystery. I think that's very clever. So we don't know what it is. He looked around, but no animal was in sight. Who could have left these prints, he wondered. I wondered that too. I wonder who it could have been. Was it a bird? Was it a cat? Then a sudden rustling in the tree above made him freeze. Something was up there watching him. So it's something that could be in a tree. So as we're going along, we're asking, so what is this part about? And we know from our careful reading that it was about Aloha finding strange paw prints, right? Tiny paw prints. What do we think is going to happen next? Well, we heard the rustling, so I think he's going to find out what animal is rustling in the leaves. Why did the author include this detail? How does the rustling in the leaves? Well, I think that adds suspense. He had just finished saying mystery before that, and then the word suddenly, we hear a rustling. That all led me to feel this sense of mystery, intrigue as I'm going. So I encourage you to make predictions as you're reading. Do you think it's a bird? Do you think it's a cat? What do you think it is? Something else. If you were Kealoha, would you climb the tree or run inside? So you're just wondering, what's he going to do next and what would you do? So then you're engaging with the text. Okay, now the text continues, part 2. Kealoha took a deep breath and slowly stepped closer to the mango tree. The rustling grew louder. He squinted up into the thick branches, his heart pounding like a drum. Oh, that's pretty cool. We have, then plunk! Oh, onomatopoeia. His heart pounding like a drum is personification. Or a simile. Something small and furry tumbled from the leaves and landed right on his shoulder. Oh my. So whatever it was, it fell plunk onto his shoulder. Kealoha gasped and spun around. Tiny paws clung to his t-shirt. So now these little paws are clung to his t-shirt, and he's turning around and it's stuck to him. A pair of big round eyes stared at him. A mongoose, he whispered. The little creature sniffed his ear and then leaped to the ground and scurried away. Kealoha laughed. The mystery was solved. But then he noticed something else. Another trail of paw prints. But these were much bigger, and they were heading right toward his front door. All right. So see how we talked ourselves through this so that we have a nice picture in our head. We know that we were looking up in the branches, something fell down, it hit his shoulder. It was, he looked at it, it was a mongoose. The mongoose sniffed his ear, then it scurried away, but then he found more paw prints. So I just want you to notice that I'm dialoguing as I'm reading, and that's what you should do when you're reading, because it helps you to interact with the text and make sure that your brain is engaged in the topic and looking for clues. So detectives don't guess answers, they find clues. So you as a reading detective need to look for bold words, headings, pictures and captions, and words that repeat. In this case, we didn't have any bold or headings or pictures, but we did have some words that repeat. The words that repeated in here were paw prints, prints, paws, and paw prints. That was a word that repeated. Also mango tree repeated itself, and the word mystery repeated. So we see that there were a few words that were repeated in here, and the rustling grew louder, right? Because we talked about rustling in this one, and then that rustling grew louder. The word mystery was here, and then we had the word the mystery was solved over here. It was a mongoose. The mystery was solved. So now we talked through it. We looked for repeated items. And we also want to know, why would you think that the author would have repeated paws and paw prints? And I think the reason why he repeated paws and paw print is because that's probably the main idea of this whole thing, right? Is to discover this mystery. Is this main clue leading Kealoha through the mystery? Yes, right? That's how he's working through it. The second set of bigger paw prints creates suspense, suggesting something new is about to happen. All right, so when we are reading, when we're answering questions, we never guess. We always go back and find the answer in the text. Detectives underline, highlight the sentence, whatever it is you're able to do on it, that's what we do in order to go back and find the answer. So let's try that. So first, we've already read the text, we've already interacted with the text, and now we're going to read the question. What is the best way to describe how Kealoha feels when he sees the paw prints? Is he excited and curious, scared and nervous, angry and frustrated, bored and uninterested? So I know that my question is, how does Kealoha feel when he sees the paw prints? So the first thing that I can do is I can eliminate wrong answers. And I go back with evidence to eliminate these wrong answers. And when I go back to the evidence, I see that it says that Kealoha knelt down, he touched the prints. They were just right for a mystery. Who could have left them? He wondered. And then he froze suddenly. Something was up there watching him. So we see that there's kind of where there's that mystery that they talk about and wonderings, but then that made him freeze. Usually that's when you're afraid of something. So looking back then, excited and curious. Curious is the mystery and the wondering. Scared is when he froze. So if I eliminated the answers that could be immediately eliminated, he wasn't angry or frustrated, bored, and uninterested. So we're looking between these two. We're going to go find evidence to see which one's the best of the two, and we do that by seeing which one has the most evidence. So we see up here something strange, a mystery, he wondered. So we actually have 3 pieces of evidence that are talking about these paw prints, and all of them are making it feel mysterious, and only one of them almost makes it feel scary. So by process of elimination, I got rid of scared and nervous, and I kept excited and curious, because a mystery makes you curious. Wondering makes you curious. So that was the best of the 2 answers. Okay, so here's another question, and I'm going to give this one to you and let you highlight the evidence in the passage. So what is the setting of this passage? So I know if you looked at it, you're like, well, I know it's not inside a house. I don't know if it's in the mountains. I know that it was raining. I'm not sure if it's at a beach. So now I ask myself, I read the question carefully. What is the setting of this passage? I know what the question is asking me. I'm going to go back to my passage to find and double check that it didn't say anything about mountains or beaches. Kealoha ran outside, heavy rain. Okay, we knew it was raining. Air smelled fresh, tiny puddles as he stepped on damp grass. So we know it's not the beach, he's in grass, and he's going to a mango tree. So it doesn't sound like a mountain. It certainly doesn't talk about it. And here, a sudden rustling in the tree above made him freeze. Okay, so we could definitely decide that it's talking about the rain, because that's the one that it has specifically talked about. So now we eliminate wrong answers. And to eliminate wrong answers, we're looking at, when answering questions, some answers are intended to trick us. So we want to eliminate ones that don't match what the text says. They sound right, but have no proof. And that would be the mountains one and the beach one, because they're both outside, but there's no proof of that one. And if they're about a different part of the story. So we can now confidently cross off inside a house, in the mountains, and at the beach, eliminating those wrong answers, and we know the answer is outside after the rain. All right, so as we have discussed, great readers slow down, think like a detective, and prove their answers. If you do this, you'll be ready for any reading challenge that comes your way. So here's just a few more small tips that I have. So one is we're going to do kinesthetic motions to remember whenever we're doing a reading exercise that we're going to slow down at the pace that we need. We are going to think like a detective, and we are going to use the evidence that's in the book and eliminate wrong answers. So do that with me. Read like a sloth, think like a detective, use evidence, and eliminate wrong answers. All right, and here's some other great things that my students suggested that I mention, and that is, if you're tired, I have told my students to lift their feet. And when I say lift your feet, I don't mean this way. I'll show you. I don't mean this way. I mean this way, where you're just lifting your knees up. And the reason why I say to do it that direction is because what you're doing is you don't need to pull away from the desk. You just lift your feet up off the floor so that now your abs are engaged. And when your abs are engaged, it will wake you up. And you can just do that for a few seconds while you're trying to re-engage your brain and then go back to reading. All right, and you got to convince your brain that you actually care about the reading. Not every topic is going to be something that's interesting to you. So metacognitively, right, when you're thinking about your thinking, when you know that you're bored with something that you're reading but you have to read it, you have to convince your brain that you care. So you just say to yourself, all right, care about this, care about this, care about this, look carefully and really care about this. And then it will help your brain. You don't say it out loud, you say it to yourself in your head. And read at that speed that you need to understand. Don't guess, find the answers in the text. All right, and then I created a song for you because I wanted you to have something fun that you could remember this by. I love it, kind of sounds a little jazzy. I asked for it to sound like future rap songs and at a slow tempo because of the sloth. So here we go. This is how you can remember all the different things that we talked about.
Reading strategies. Dr. Fisher gives advice when you read. Remember, read to understand, not for speed. First, convince your mind that you care. Stay engaged, be fully aware. Read like a sloth, slow, slow with care. But think like a detective, search for answers everywhere. Read one time through to understand, then a second time with the questions in hand. If you get tired, it's time to wake up. Remember our trick to lift your feet up. Persevere, keep reading, and don't give up. For every choice, check the text. Go find the proof, don't guess. Don't get tricked by answers that seem true. Go find the best answer, it's up to you. Underline the proof, which answer has more. That's the correct answer, that'll raise your score. Don't give up, don't rush, don't guess. Go back and double check every answer on a test. Reading is something you can do. Just take your time and think it through. Dr. Fisher's advice for how to read. Remember, read to understand, not for speed. Convince your mind that you care. Stay engaged, be fully aware. Read one time through to understand, then a second time with the questions in hand. For every choice, check the text, go find the proof, don't guess. Don't get tricked by answers that seem true. Go find the best answer, it's up to you.
It's so clever, isn't it? All right. Well, thank you so much for listening and for spending some time with me as we talked about reading today. Have a great day.